Evening guys, how's it going? Wasn't really going to get into short boards too much, but seeing as I've got these two and got them out, and it's probably a question that a few people will be asking, puddle jumper versus puddle fish, yeah, which one do I get? And probably versus some of the other grovelers as well, because I've had a lot of boards that are very similar. So in the past I've either owned or ridden Elmeric's Fish Kit, Baked Potato, Sweet Potato, Chumley, LSD Tex, a few of those kind of boards, some of the more retro fish, and honestly the Lost Puddle Jumper is a really good board, and so is the Puddle Fish. So as you'll see a few reviews and a few people actually saying this, the Puddle Jumper is actually really quite a special board. It's really got that blend of having the grovel ability but actually feeling quite free and loose, and it's kind of true, you know, they say you can be, if you're an average guy with average ability, a bit like me, you can be surfing it in a half decent wave that's not too big, and you actually feel like you're surfing a short board. You don't, honestly, this width that's in it, you really don't feel it. And I believe that from what everyone's saying, and I believe so too, it's a lot to do with the concaves in the bottom. It's you know, it's running pretty similar to short board concaves. It's not really what they put in grovelers all the time, but it works in these. It's got a nice big single concave running through the middle, and the tail fins out really nicely, and there's a single, you know, like single double V pretty much basically, but a clever, you know, really clever concaves. You know, Matt knows his stuff. Like Matt's fantastic at making boards for the everyday guy. So yeah, so basically what happened for me is I really wanted a Puddle Fish, and they weren't actually released yet, and then this Puddle Jumper actually came up second hand, and I ended up getting the Puddle Jumper, and I rode it, compared with a few of my other grovelers that I had, and ended up deciding that pound for pound this was the best paddler, best wave catcher, and it turned as well, if not better, than all of the other boards that were possibly a smaller nose, less rocker, maybe a little bit less volume. So, you know, why wouldn't you have the advantage of your cruising, your paddle power, and still be able to perform a little bit on the groveler? So yeah, the Puddle Jumper is really good. It's a really special board. I'll show you through the boards in a minute. Now, choosing between the two, I'll get straight into it. Choosing between the two, people will probably make a big dilemma of it, but it's really not a dilemma, to be quite honest. The Puddle Jumper will serve very slightly more like your short board, and a little bit looser and a little bit more release off the tail. The Puddle Fish will surf a little bit more fishy, so it's going to surf a little bit more on rail, a little bit more drive down the line. It's got a slightly bigger nose, but the rockers are virtually identical. The volume distribution is very similar. The big deal is probably that they straighten this tail out a bit. You can see in the tail there, they just straighten the rail line out. It's not curving quite as much. So yeah, I mean, the Puddle Jumper's got a little bit more curve. They ride very similar. This is actually, so this one is 6'2", 22 and a quarter, 2 3/4, 43 litres. And this one is 6'0", 22 and a quarter, 2 3/4, 41.75 litres. So obviously in the fish you've lost 2 inches, and just dropped a litre pretty much, but it doesn't make a big difference. The shorter length in this is quite good, and again that adds to that fishy, a little bit shorter, a little bit more fishy, a little bit longer, a little bit closer towards your short board. But quite honestly, you could change these two boards' characteristics away from each other more by changing the fins than the actual board almost, because they're very similar boards. There are differences. Again, this will ride a little bit more fishy, so if you like that fishy downline speed, slightly more drawn out turns, nice hold in the rail, and then if you want to be a bit more snappy in the pocket and you want to be riding your short board, maybe you want the option to go to some more standard fins, because I haven't tried too much myself, but I've heard about people quite liking these with even just the standard thruster in them. So that might be more your go-to. Think about where they fit in your quiver as well, because You can also get the round pin. You can get the Puddle Jumper round pin, so that will stretch this out a little bit longer, narrow the nose in a bit more, and pull the tail into a rounded pin. So if you had all three of them here, you could think, where does that fit into my quiver? Matt says that this one is slightly the most grovelly, and this is kind of your all-rounder, and then the round pin is a I suppose a step up graveler, but obviously here we have fairly slow waves. You know, it's hard to get on. It's pretty much it's a longboard wave, but it's got lots of wall to turn on a good day. So you know, the fish is really nice, and so's the Puddle Jumper, and both of them I've ridden in. Depends how good you are and what the waves are like and how much push they've got, but really you probably want about this to start with, and then honestly I've ridden them, you know, up to the ceiling here, so that's what overhead, possibly head and a half if you're in a point, a rolly wave, a spilling wave. If you've got a hollow wave, you're probably going to find that limit comes down to like just above head high, but you know, I've ridden these in overhead here, they're high volume, so you know, if you're a fit guy and you're riding them in your volume or lower volume, you're probably even going to add to the grip again. So yeah, that's the comparison between the two. I've also owned a Libtech in the Puddle Jumper. I didn't get on with that quite as well, to be honest, and I think a lot of that was to do with the wing in the tail. I was extremely impressed with the Libtech technology. That would be an indestructible board for someone that's actually got quite a nice feel to it. This carbon wrap is amazing though. Like, the carbon wrap is very fast, very poppy, very similar to your very similar to Firewise helium technology. Only this is not quite as light, which is actually a good thing. The helium is very light, but it's also got some really nice damping properties to it, which this has too. So you'll see people talk about this in a lot of the newer epoxies with some of these carbon wraps and the JS Hi-Fi. They've built in the carbon to control some of that chatter and some of those negative elements of epoxies, and I think they're really getting there. Hey, you know, you'll see if you want to know a bit more about the Puddle Jumper and the Puddle Fish, Noel Salas at Surf and Show has actually written and reviewed this, and then the guys at the Real Surf have reviewed both of those, and also when they reviewed this they compared the two. So there's some really professional guys with some really good information. So if you wanted to know a lot more about the board individually, have a look at that. So yeah, so if you're looking at the Puddle Fish, the Libtech might actually be a really good option as well. I think they're priced around the same. I'm very, very impressed with the carbon wrap myself. So I'll just go over both of them. As I say, this one is a little bit longer. You see the nose is just a little bit more tucked in off the Puddle Fish. The tail's still nice and wide. I've been running these McCallum quads. They really suit me, but with this board you could come down to you know, a large quad set like a GM or something. You know, you can see the rocker. You can see that the board fins out into the tail here. Again, the really clever thing is that the concave through the middle, allowing the rail line to have curve whilst the centre of the board remains flat. So you get all that speed, and then when you pop it onto a rail, you're getting that curve that's in the rail. So as you can see, you have a look at this rocker, and then, you know, rewind or bear it in mind when you look at the Puddle Fish. But I think you'll find them very, very similar. So I'm riding with these big quads and I absolutely love it. You know, the carbon wrap tech. You've got basically an EPS blank. It's a epoxy resin. And then these carbon stringers are actually coming down here and wrapping all the way around the tail and down to the front. So that's actually giving you flex where they want it to be. And the same there, you know, this carbon here is replacing your stringer, so it's stringerless. So yeah, I think this is one of the slightly earlier ones, and the tech's really good. I would say this one was probably made by Tommy Dalton, who is our amazing shaper in New Zealand that has got license for Lost, and yeah, great guy, great shaper. Funnily enough, I actually haven't had a board off him, but spoken to him a couple of times. He's really good to deal with, and you can actually customise these carbon wraps a little bit. So if you're looking at a Puddle Jumper or Puddle Fish and you're in New Zealand, he can make you one, and you can also get some in stores that are made. Well, this one's actually made in Taiwan, funnily enough, but it's very well finished. So yeah, they've obviously got their technology and the manufacture sorted out. So yeah, that's the Puddle jumper. Like I say, rockers very similar. They're very lively. Like they're really fast when you push on them. They really give you some squirt. So when you're coming out of your turns, they just feel a little bit faster than everything else, and they're really lively. So I can see why people like them. So I'll just plop that down there so you can still see a little bit of it. And then you've got the Puddle fish here. So the Puddle fish, we're rocking a little bit more width here. Same width in the middle, and as you can see, the tail's it's kept its straightness. It's not curved in quite as much. And I'll show you the rocker first. So again, as we were before, you'll probably see a very similar rocker. I'm running this one with the split keels. They're really good in this. I've also run those same fins that I have in the Puddle jumper, and they're good. I would suspect you could probably run a big MR twin plus stabiliser and it'd probably be good. You could possibly try a keel fin as well, but it's possibly not in the right spot. So yeah, as you can see, pretty similar. One of the really cool and amazing things that I really like about this board is we've got this special channel here. So you got single going on here, and what actually happens is this, as you get through here, the peak of this channel is actually sat deeper into the water. So if you stick a straight edge on here, this part here is actually higher than the rail, and then these panels have got two flat panels. So yeah, it's very clever. And then this sort of, I think they call it an inverted swallowtail, but like they were saying, you get these very sharp points to pivot off. It keeps that rail profile really straight and elongated, and then you've got this nice grip in there as well from the tail. So yeah, you can do the whole shooting match with this. Like if you like a slightly fishier board, go for this. It'll still be very high performance fish. And if you like a more of a squash tail short board and you're looking for a grovel version, you'll probably really like that. I really like both of them. I really like the fish. Main differences: a little bit of extra speed on this, a little bit more drawn out turns. You could probably be able to blow the tail out, snap it free and all that stuff a little bit better on a Puddle jumper maybe. But there's really not that much in it. If you started messing around with fins and gave someone these two boards, they'd probably, if you were blindfolded, you might feel more of a difference in the fins and the board. So again, this lovely carbon wrap, but well finished. You pay a little bit more for that channel in there. Those split keels are just amazing. You get heaps of down the line drive, and yeah, if you want to fish but you don't want to retro fish, when I was looking at this, I was also considering the Rob Machado Go Fish. I've not traditionally got on with pure twins that great, so I just wanted something a bit more versatile. I was like, this is, from what I was reading, this is going to have the speed, but it's not going to have any of the adjustment and getting used to those. Twin keels feel really good, and they're probably the fastest board you can get, but this is really cut the balance of getting everything. And again, this will ride in small to just a bit overhead, and so will the Puddle jumper. So yeah, those are the boards, those are the dims, carbon wrap. Think about what you like, how you like riding, and how they fit in your quiver. And honestly, don't overanalyze it, because they're both absolutely amazing boards and you will not be disappointed with either. Just think about what you are looking for yourself, and yeah, have fun. I really recommend these as your groveler. These will cover a large range of your, once you're out of your longboard range and before you get into your sort of decent short board range. These will be your daily drivers for sort of 2 to 3 foot waves, or even 4 foot waves. Overhead if you're in softer waves and point breaks, and then probably head high or a little bit over is where you're going to max out. If you're into bowly hollow waves, you might, head high might really be the sensible limit for these when it's a bit smaller day and not throwing too hard. So yeah, hope that's enjoyable for everyone, and yeah, hopefully this gets a few views. I've been doing a few bits and bobs recently, and seems to be the trend is that people like boards. so I thought, there's a lot of guys out there. I've done a few bits and bobs on longboards, and yeah, I just thought, sticking a couple of short boards on there might capture a few other people, and might help people out. So yeah, you might not get to see both of these boards together, obviously. I'll apologise for riding the biggest sizes. Yeah. So yeah, the Puddle jumper for me, so just be careful as well, the Puddle jumper for me is in the slim dims. So I used to ride baked potatoes and sweet potatoes down to like 5'10". I've actually stopped doing that now, and I'd rather ride a slightly longer board that's slightly thinner, because once you start just trying to pack volume and volume and volume into those short boards, they don't have trim speed for paddling, they just have a lot of float, so you don't necessarily move forward quickly. And then just going that few inches extra, you can still really turn quite well, but you've just increased the wave range as well, because you're not on a tiny little short rail that can only handle a small wave. So yeah, that's probably quite a long review, that one, so I better wrap it up. Thanks guys.